Hey guys, I break down the most jaw-dropping finds from Antiques Roadshow. Only the best, no filler. Plus, I give my take on their current value. What do you think they're worth? Drop your guess in the comments. A guitar bought for a bargain, a touch of guilt, and a value that has soared far beyond expectations. The guest shares the story of her husband's prized possession, a guitar he purchased from a friend in need.
Asked him how much he wanted for it, and I don't remember for sure, but I'm thinking maybe $150 that he paid him. After my husband got it home and did a little bit of research on it, he found it was more valuable than that. He felt a little guilty, so he went back and paid the friend probably a couple $100 more, and he's loved it ever since.
Presented is a Martin D18, an instrument revered in the world of fiddle, bluegrass, and country music, often considered the holy grail of its kind. Initially thought to be from 1937, the guitar's markings reveal that it was actually made in 1935 by C.F. Martin & Company in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. Established in 1833 by Christie and Frederick Martin, C.F. Martin & Company is highly renowned for its top-of-the-line acoustic guitars. They are a leading manufacturer of flat-top guitars, ukuleles, mandolins, tie pulls, as well as several models of electric guitars and electric basses, of which this piece is a perfect example. The body features a mahogany neck, back and sides, with a top crafted from Adirondack spruce, materials known for their warm, resonant tone. Remarkably, the guitar has its original ebony bridge, an uncommon feature since most have been replaced over time. Its wear is entirely natural, a testament to years of dedicated playing, yet it remains in excellent condition. One tuner was recently replaced, but the guitar retains its vintage authenticity, complete with its original case. Decades ago, an appraisal placed its value relatively high, but in today's market, even with a slowdown, its worth has climbed significantly.
He has sent pictures to, I believe, Dallas, Texas, to the guitar store there. And I don't really remember what he told me. I know it was like at least 17 or 19,000. I can't remember for sure.
In a retail environment, this Martin D18 would command a value between.
This guitar would be valued at $30,000 and $35,000.
Great. Made me a believer. He always told me it was really worth a lot, but...
So he's not in trouble for buying it?
No, not at this point.
Yeah.
On display is the 1938 C.F. Martin 00021, a classic acoustic guitar renowned for its rich history and exceptional tonal character. This guitar belongs to the guest's cousin, Myra Ann Smith, who purchased it from J&S Music Company in Shreveport.
When her mother bought this guitar, so that was quite an impressive sum of money for a 15-year-old girl.
Myra was an American songwriter, music industry pioneer, record label owner, studio engineer, and multi-instrumentalist. The Martin 00021 stands as a pinnacle of pre-war guitar craftsmanship. Its signature X bracing offers a tonal balance and responsiveness that modern guitars struggle to replicate. With its elegant lines, intricate inlays, and rich resonant tone, the 1938 C.F. Martin 00021 guitar is a true masterpiece of luthiery and a testament to the enduring legacy of C.F. Martin & Company. Many 00021 guitar models from this period feature a herringbone trim around the sound hole and a slotted headstock, adding a touch of vintage elegance. The Brazilian rosewood back and sides provide the guitar a rich, deep, and balanced tone with excellent projection. It also features an ebony fretboard and bridge, providing a smooth, durable surface for playing, and contributes to the guitar's clarity and articulation. Original 1938 Martin 00021 guitars are highly sought after by collectors due to their rarity, historical significance, and exceptional tone. With documented provenance, including its original owner image, this guitar's value could be estimated at.
The guitar, without any historical accessories, would bring $20,000 in today's market.
Yeah, that's an eye-opener, yeah. That's a much higher than I could even have imagined.
In the world of electric guitars, few names carry as much weight as Rickenbacker, from its pioneering role in the 1930s to its domination of the 1960s rock scene. Today we're at Rickenbacker's headquarters in California to explore some of its most iconic models. Founded around 1931 by Adolf Rickenbacker and George Beauchamp, the company set out to create innovative, high-quality Rickenbacker guitars. Among its groundbreaking designs was the first electric guitar, the frying pan, introduced in 1931. Rickenbacker continued to push the boundaries of guitar design, including the development of its famous 12-string models in 1964. Furthermore, that same year, an early version of the Rickenbacker 12-string guitar was used by the Beatles and other legendary musicians, cementing its place in rock history.
And he also used that guitar in the film Hard Day's Night. That's the most recognizable opening chord in the history of rock and roll.
One of Rickenbacker's early electric guitars featured a unique design with two horseshoe magnets placed end to end, allowing the strings to pass through them.
Horseshoe magnet pickup, if you take two horseshoe magnets and put them end to end, and the strings pass through that. That's the electromagnetic field, and that's how it's made louder.
Moreover, Rickenbacker guitars not only created a striking visual effect, but also contributed to the instrument's distinctive tone. Notably, in its early years, most Rickenbacker electric guitars were used for playing Hawaiian music, thanks to their signature sound. Today, Rickenbacker guitars are highly collectible, with vintage models appreciating in value over time. This particular Rickenbacker guitar has been appraised at a significantly higher value, estimated between
Sell from between $3,000 and $3,500 in a retail shop.
A high school purchase, a salesman's deal, and a guitar that turned out to be a collector's dream. The guest recalls buying this instrument straight off the rack at a music store on Lake Street.
Saved your paper route money because this was not an inexpensive guitar at the time.
It was hanging on the rack just like it was, and the salesman at the store told me they're going to discontinue it. He says, I'll give you a good deal on it. I paid $650 for it, the guitar, the case, and a Ranger 20T amp.
Presented as a Gibson ES-355, a model produced in 1959, one of the most sought-after years for Gibson guitars. Based in Nashville, Tennessee, the Gibson Guitar Corporation is an American manufacturer of guitars, other musical instruments, and professional audio equipment. The legendary guitar manufacturer was established in 1902 by Orville Gibson, the genius who invented archtop guitars by constructing the same type of carved arched tops used on violins. The late 1950s to early 1960s era is considered the golden age for Gibson craftsmanship, making this guitar a prime example of the brand's finest work. Featuring a tremolo bar that adds to its desirability, the instrument has been preserved with incredible care, showing minimal fret wear and a perfectly straight neck.
On the gold, a lot of times people don't want this tremolo bar, but in this particular guitar, the tremolo bar is very desirable.
The gold hardware has developed a light patina, a natural sign of age, but the guitar itself remains in near pristine condition. Even the case, upon opening, presents a glow of vintage excellence, reinforcing the rarity of finding a piece so well preserved. Despite fluctuations in the market, this example stands at the pinnacle of Gibson collecting. In today's retail environment, this Gibson ES-355 would command a value between
In a retail basis, somewhere between $20,000 and $24,000. I don't know if that's a surprise to you or not.
No, I've seen them anywhere from 12 up to 25,
Yeah.
and maybe sometimes a little higher.
Luxury, functionality, and tonal versatility come together in this iconic Gibson ES-355 stereo guitar. Purchased by the guest at a pawn shop in 1998, this stereo guitar is believed to have been owned by a local musician.
Passed it down to his nephew, and his nephew would take it into the pawn shop every now and then, and one time he just didn't go back to retrieve it, and so we purchased it.
Originally crafted by Orville Gibson in 1963, this guitar is known for its advancement in electronics of guitars. Orville H. Gibson was an American luthier who founded the Gibson Guitar Company, makers of guitars, mandolins, and other instruments. Many legendary guitarists, such as B.B. King and Chuck Berry, made use of this stereo guitar, making it a highly popular and sought-after piece. Made with the latest electronic bells and whistles at the time, this stereo guitar was one of the most expensive guitars of its era. A unique feature of this Gibson guitar is the stereo output, which uses a cord that runs through two amplifiers.
That meant that the signal from one pickup went out the left speaker, and the signal from another pickup went out the right speaker. Very high tech in 1963.
Furthermore, this stereo guitar has a semi-hollow body with a center block, which enhances resistance to feedback, making it more suitable for high-gain settings. Another notable feature of this ES-355 stereo guitar is the thin neck, giving it a more comfortable feel and easier access to higher frets. Interestingly, the red finish of this piece is uncommon, making it highly desirable to collectors. Since this guitar remains in its original condition, and because Gibson guitars are highly sought after, at auction this piece would easily be worth.
Probably sell for about $11,000.
Quite a good investment.
Definitely.
An instrument that serves as a symbol of solace and creativity for soldiers during World War II is this Gibson SJ guitar. Brought in by our guest, this iconic guitar originally belonged to her father-in-law. Crafted during a period of material and labor shortages, this guitar was made by Gibson Corporation, founded by Orville Gibson, making it especially sentimental. Orville H. Gibson was an American luthier who founded the Gibson Guitar Company, makers of guitars, mandolins, and other instruments. A distinctive feature of this guitar is the banner logo at the top, displaying the phrase "Only a Gibson is good enough," further confirming its authenticity. Built towards the end of the Second World War, this piece boasts superior quality compared to earlier models.
When materials became scarce, they used to substitute different woods. But fortunately, this one was built towards the end of the war.
Interestingly, the nickname of the guitar, Southern Jumbo, comes from this guitar's large body, designed to enhance volume, resulting in a richer sound. Another characteristic of this Gibson guitar is the reinforcing rod running through the neck, allowing for adjustments if the neck warps over time. The back of this guitar is crafted from a vibrant piece of mahogany, an excellent acoustic wood, enhancing its tonal quality. Furthermore, this SJ guitar features traits that authenticate it as a wartime instrument, making it highly sought after by collectors.
So this neck is actually a lamination of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of wood. So we've got a piece that's in wonderful condition.
This Gibson guitar is in wonderful shape because it has barely been played over the years, making it exceptionally well preserved. In today's market, a well-preserved guitar like this, together with its original case, would be valued at
of this guitar at $9,000 to $10,000.
Wonderful.
Especially with a case in that wonderful condition.
That's great. Thank you.
A guitar passed through generations, carrying the echoes of family history and the hands that played it. The guest shares that this instrument belonged to their grandfather, who left it to their father, and in turn, it became theirs after their father's passing.
And my father had it for a number of years, and I learned how to start playing guitar on this when I was about 6, 7 years old. My father passed away about 8 years ago, and it was left to me.
Presented is a Martin 00018, made in 1934. Manufactured by C.F. Martin & Company, established in 1833 by Christian Frederick Martin, this piece is the perfect throwback guitar. Positioned in the upper tier of Martin's offerings during the Great Depression, this model represented quality and craftsmanship at a time when every dollar counted.
This is really the first of the modern style Martin guitar with the longer neck, 14 frets clear of the body, the solid headstock with right angle tuning machines.
What makes this guitar exceptional is its originality. Untouched tuners, original finish, and even its original celluloid pickguard and bridge, with only one bridge pin replaced. Despite decades of use, it bears only honest wear, and yet remains structurally sound, an uncommon trait for mahogany-bodied guitars of this era.
The finish is original. It has lots of wear from belt buckles and shirt buttons and things like that. In this business, that's what we call honest wear.
A key detail further elevates its rarity. This model originally had a longer 25.4-inch scale length, a feature Martin soon discontinued, making surviving examples highly desirable among modern players.
The thing that is interesting about this guitar is that right after this was made, Martin shortened the scale length, the distance between the nut and the saddle. And so this has the long scale, which they only did on this size guitar for about 4 years.
With only a few hundred ever made, and even fewer in this condition, this guitar is a collector's dream. In a specialty retail shop today, this Martin 00018 would carry an estimated value of
probably $15,000, $16,000.
Really? That's fantastic.
A guitar steeped in country western history, passed down through generations and preserved with near-perfect care. Adding to folklore, the guest's grandfather, a rising musician in western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee, purchased this piece and played on local radio, made television appearances.
Over the years, his notoriety was starting to grow. He played on local radio stations. He appeared a few times on a television show in North Carolina called The Parker Smith Show.
And it was also the guest's family opinion that the piece was purchased before his unfortunate passing in 1958.
He bought this and was getting ready to go to the Grand Ole Opry when he passed away, when my dad was 8 years old.
When did he buy it?
He bought it in 1956, 2 years before he passed away.
Afterward, the guitar was inherited by the guest's father, who tucked it away in its case for 50 years, only bringing it out on rare occasions. This is a Gretsch Chet Atkins Model 6120, one of the most sought-after country western guitars, built in Brooklyn, New York. It was manufactured by the famous American manufacturer Gretsch, founded in 1883 in Brooklyn, New York by Friedrich Gretsch. The serial number confirms its 1956 origin, and it still retains its original warranty certificate, signed by the guest's grandfather but never mailed in. Its signature western orange finish, cattle brand G logo, and distinctive Chet Atkins signpost inlay make it an unmistakable piece of music history. Unlike earlier models with western-themed fret markers, this one features plain pearloid inlays, marking a design shift from previous years. Equipped with 2 de-armament pickups and a Bigsby vibrato tailpiece, everything about this guitar remains original, a rarity for instruments of this age.
And everything about this guitar is original, and I think it's the nicest 6120 I've ever seen.
Wow, thank you.
Beyond the guitar itself, the original strap, warranty papers, and white case make this a collector's dream, filled with what enthusiasts call case candy. This piece is a treasured heirloom, not just for its monetary value, but for the deep family and musical history it carries. However, given this guitar's impeccable preservation, it could command an astonishing
$12,000 to $15,000.
That's incredible. My dad would be over the moon.
Well, I bet he'd be proud of you for keeping it in this condition all this time.
This captivating plant stand, acquired by our guest in Kerryville, Texas 14 years ago, holds secrets of the past.
I found this there and a number of other things. In fact, we just came down in a little pickup and thought we'd pick up a few things and go home.
It was crafted in Connecticut, likely by Bradley and Hubbard Factory or Parker Brothers, who were known as prominent manufacturers of aesthetic movement objects.
And we bought some beautiful paintings and some small pieces of furniture and this and that.
This stand features intricate details, including paw feet and birdwing legs, showcasing exceptional craftsmanship. A snake coiled around the shaft adds an elegant touch. There's also a seamless blend of pottery and brass at the base, decorated with beautiful nature-inspired designs.
And it looks alive to me, starting from the very bottom of this piece with these paw feet and moving up to bird wing legs.
The pottery shaft features stunning butterflies, flowers, and tree motifs, transporting us to the 19th century.
But also pottery, and it's all painted with wonderful pictures of nature on it.
This plant stand's rarity and historical significance are undeniable. Despite minor damage, it still retains its charm.
Scarab that is missing on the side, and also the pottery tile itself.
Dating back to 1880, its pottery tile, reminiscent of Barbizon paintings, which is a true masterpiece. Restoration of the damaged areas by skilled artisans could further enhance its value. This stunning plant stand has become a treasured find, far exceeding its original $400 price tag. At auction today, this aesthetic movement plant stand would be valued at.
Not restored, I would put an estimate of $6,000 to $8,000 on it.
Oh my goodness, well.
For an item such as a chair, one would think it would not be worth that much. However, this chair is an Eames Zenith chair and it holds much value. The chair is particularly sought after because it has a cult status among architectural enthusiasts.
You're absolutely right, it's an Eames chair. This chair was made probably about 1950, 1951.
From a close look at the chair, it appears glazed. Surprisingly, the chair was made by the couple duo Charles and Ray Eames. What makes the chair so special is that it's made from top-quality materials using a specific technique. This distinguishing factor makes their values go above all other chair types. Interestingly also, the chairs are quite rare to come by. A distinct way to confirm the authenticity of an Eames chair is through the paper label. As a beautiful work of art, and one that signifies love, this chair would retail at
Value goes, it's probably worth about $1,500 to $2,000 in today's market.
From a first glance at this, one would think it's a witch's pot.
So I was hoping it was a Tiffany or a Handel, but I couldn't find any marks on it.
Surprisingly, however, the item is a highly prized vase made by Tiffany & Co. For more than 187 years now, Tiffany's iconic vases have graced the world. This vase is called an arrowhead vase because of the pointing arrow.
It's called an arrowhead, and it's a bronze and a mosaic base, and this was a very early piece.
It's made from a mix of bronze and mosaic, which gives it the witchy look. The vase is also an early one and was initially created to be used as an oil lamp. One of the distinct features to know that it was created by Tiffany & Co. is the beautiful way it was designed. As a brand also known for their innovation and quality, the vase is sure to have been a steal at its time. The vase was made in the 1930s and is part of the few ones that are still in quality existence. At a suitable auction, this witchy Tiffany & Co. vase would retail at the auction price of
I would put a value of this at $50,000.
What?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God!
After glancing at this beautiful furniture, the first thought that came to mind was the fine finish. Called a valuable chest, this item is a Queen Anne antique dresser chest. The chest is called a Queen Anne chest because it was crafted during the reign of Queen Anne. It was made in the 18th century with durable walnut wood. The chest was reinforced with cedar, which was used to drive away insects like termites. Many folks would normally use this chest to store valuable possessions, hence the name.
So you have the original Chippendale brasses on this. You have this overhanging cornice, wonderful molded drawers, 3 over 2.
The drawers were arranged in a unique fashion, which sparked innovation at the time.
Poplar, it shows that this is exposed to air and this is not oxidized. That means
Interestingly, the lower part of the chest has a base that can be opened up.
it always had a base. The base would have looked exactly like this.
However, the base is believed to have been crafted much later than the main chest.
I'm sorry to say that. It was done 100 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, so nothing you did or your parents. It was something lovingly done.
If this beautiful chest were to be sold at a furniture auction, it would retail for nothing less than
It is worth, at auction, probably $5,000 to $8,000, in that range.
The story of these works of art is incredibly mind-boggling, to say the least. We have 2 items, including a hand-signed lithograph and a ceramic by the famous Pablo Picasso. Picasso is largely known as one of the most influential artists of the 20th century.
It is indeed a hand-signed lithograph by Picasso, but a lot of people might not know that he also made ceramics.
He is also responsible for co-founding the Cubist movement and the invention of constructed sculpture. The ceramic represents a part of his work that most people discovered after his death. Each of these items were bought a day after Picasso died at a steal price.
So to put the two together, I think you see similarities in style and workmanship.
Perhaps what is most surprising about the ceramic is that despite being glass, it is durable. The style and design of each piece also complement naturally to confirm that it is Picasso's work. Each of these items serves as a joy to behold for art collectors. That's why at a suitable auction, this beautiful Picasso duo would retail for the price of
At auction, you have about $23,000 worth of Picassos here.
That's very favorable, better than the stock market, I'll tell you that.
Nothing screams royalty better than this beautiful chandelier piece. The chandelier is a Limoges chandelier, and it is a beautiful piece of art made to beautify a home.
After the sale was closed, I think they had regret that they had left it and asked my in-laws if they would return it to them.
The name Limoges is a prestigious name because they have been known to be expert porcelain manufacturers. Limoges chandeliers are often made from brass, ceramic or metal to bring your living room to life. However, this one is made from porcelain and gilded metal. Interestingly, the chandelier was originally a gas variant but was later converted to electric.
Exterior of the arms of the chandelier that they thought it was a gas chandelier converted to electric.
It's also not a hand-painted chandelier, which suggests that it was crafted at a much later date.
It does help us date it, but the mark is not really what we need to date it. We can do it in other ways.
As a Limoges piece, one would expect the quality of the chandelier to be top-notch. However, the porcelain is not that strong owing to the materials used. Nevertheless, it still possesses the prestigious name and thus would be auctioned at.
I would have thought between $300 and $500 would be the correct estimate at auction.
This painting perfectly depicts the statement of bringing a character to life. It was drawn by the Oriental Italian painter Albert Pacini. Pacini had a unique style of painting called Orientalism, where he painted the Middle East. Pacini had a knack for art in its deepest form and built relationships with other prominent artists.
He's probably the leading Italian artist to work in the Orientalist manner.
Really?
And by that, I mean using subject matter from the East, from North Africa.
A largely distinct feature of his paintings is the contrast to bring out the beauty of each individual in his work. His love for the Middle East and its cultures earned him the responsibility of painting for the Shah.
And this painting here, it's hard to determine where exactly it might be. He did do a lot of work in Constantinople, so it's possible that it's of Turkish origin.
From the characters in the painting, it looks to be a Turkish-inspired painting. The combination of subtle colors illuminates his unique style of painting. Perhaps that's why he was known as the leading Oriental expert painter from Italy. For this reason, this beautiful oil painting would retail at the auction price of...
I would think at auction, I would feel very comfortable with an estimate of $30,000 to $50,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Our guest acquired this pottery piece from a small chapel where she does the flowers. After it was discarded during a basement cleaning, she cleaned off the grime to reveal a stunning glaze, but couldn't identify the mark on the bottom. The appraiser revealed it as a piece of Pisgah Forest pottery made by Walter Stephen, who started.
Pisgah Forest was started in Arden, North Carolina. It's outside of Asheville in 1926.
Stephen was known for his craftsmanship, creating his own potting tools and using techniques like
decoration, which is like built-up decoration of scenes, and crystalline glazes.
This particular piece stands out due to its crystalline glaze and larger size, which is rare for Pisgah pottery. The snowflake crystals on the surface are an especially difficult effect to achieve, as Stephen used wood or gas kilns instead of modern electric kilns. The appraiser estimated the value at a jaw-dropping price of...
Conservatively, I would say between $2,000 and $3,000, but I wouldn't be surprised if it brought like $3,000 to $5,000 in that range. It's really quite nice.
Wow.
Yeah. You could look for Pisgah for the next 10, 20 years, and maybe you'll see one this good.
Wow. Amazing.
He found an old book on clockmaking in an antique mall, a manuscript about Ferdinand Berthoud, the renowned 18th century Swiss watchmaker. Ferdinand Berthoud created marine chronometers essential for navigation. His work was vital in the competition between France and England to improve navigation tools.
This is such an unusual book because it is written by hand. It is not a printed book.
The 1792 book features Berthaud's cipher and two parts, one from 1791 and the other from 1792. The document includes schematics of clockwork systems essential to Berthaud's timekeeping instruments. These documents, with notes and diagrams, were vital for future watchmakers to replicate Berthaud's designs. They offer insight into individual designs and broader 18th century technological advancements. Its intricate designs impressed experts, prompting the appraiser to value the item.
I would say the estimate range should be $40,000 to $60,000.
Wow. Well, I had no idea what it's worth.
Our guest shares that the piece was purchased by family members in North Dakota 30 to 40 years ago for $300. They were visiting an art gallery featuring works by Charles Russell, a well-known painter and sculptor. The appraiser highlights the size of the horn and the intricate figure of a cowboy lassoing a horse. He emphasizes the craftsmanship and artistry of the folk object, noting its decorative nature. By the 1870s or 1880s, powder horns like this were mainly decorative, as the need for them had diminished. The appraiser playfully checks for any gunpowder scent, but concludes that it was likely not used for action. Admiring the horn's size and craftsmanship, he shares that it has been appreciated at the folk art table. At auction, this piece could easily fetch a value of...
This horn is worth between $2,500 and maybe $4,000, easily, okay? And it's not bad.
No, not at all, for $300 investment.
One guest received this Alabama football from his father when he was 11 years old. He had asked for an Alabama football, and his father brought home this special piece of memorabilia. The appraiser explained that the ball is from the Crimson Tide's undefeated 1966 season. The team went 11-0 and won the Sugar Bowl in January 1967, beating Nebraska 34-7. The ball features signatures from the entire team, including their legendary coach. Despite their undefeated season, Alabama did not win the national championship that year due to Notre Dame's tie. The appraiser valued the football at $800 to $1,200, noting its rarity and historical significance.
Probably somewhere in the vicinity of around $800 to $1,200.
Great. Fantastic.
Our guest was thrilled with the appraisal and the ball's connection to Alabama's storied football history. A family heirloom, this climbing axe symbolizes the first ascent of Denali and a legacy of adventure. The guest presents a climbing axe.
This is my great-grandfather's climbing axe from the first expedition up Denali.
His great-grandfather's, Harry Carstens, who was part of the first expedition to summit Denali in 1913. Carstens had a remarkable journey, starting as a young man who arrived in Dyer during the 1897 gold rush. He learned survival skills from the First Nations people and built a reputation for himself. Along with Archdeacon Hudson Stuck, he led the climbing team, which included Robert Tatum and Walter Harper. While the others lost their ice axes during the climb, Carstens' axe is the only one known to exist today. The appraiser noted its significance as a milestone object in mountaineering history. It has been in the guest's family and was stored in a trunk in a barn. For insurance purposes, the appraiser estimated its value.
For insurance purposes, $20,000.
Oh, no, that's a little bit too much.
You sure?
Now I gotta lock it up.
The guest stumbled upon a hidden treasure at a charity auction, unaware of its true worth. The guest acquired the piece at a charity auction for about $60.
It's a charity auction at my office, and I was lucky enough to get it. I paid about $60 for it.
He was drawn to it because it depicted St. Paul's Cathedral in London, where he was born. The appraiser praised the scene, noting that everyone recognizes St. Paul. He asked if the guest knew the artist and pointed out the unusual signature. The artist was Luigi Casimir, an Austrian-Hungarian who lived until 1962. The guest asked if it was watercolor, and the appraiser clarified it was printed.
So it's not watercolor at all?
No,
Okay.
This is printed.
All right.
It's like a sand, and it creates a pitted surface in the copper plate, so you can hold color.
The appraiser explained aquatint allows for color gradations on the copper plate. This piece features St. Paul's and Fleet Street, one of Casimir's best subjects. He then asked the guest if he knew the artwork's auction value. The appraiser estimated it might bring between $800 and $1,200, leaving the guest excited.
At auction today, this might between $800 and $1,200.
Wow, that's way more than $60. That's fabulous.
This antique road grader was inherited by the guest from her father, who was in the construction business and collected such items. He acquired it at a show around 25 years ago, along with another harrow that has since been sold. Our guest immediately loved it and kept it as her own. The appraiser explained that it was likely made as a salesman sample to showcase how the equipment worked. The grader is remarkably detailed, featuring cast aluminium, brass, and
even got wood planking here. You're aware of all the features.
It has a functional mechanism where the wheels rotate the blade and the ratchet bar moves the axle. Because of its rarity and craftsmanship, the appraiser valued it at
between $5,000 and $6,000, and then maybe more. It's just because it is truly extraordinary. I mean, I've just never seen such an amazing piece of equipment.
Thank you.
The appraiser noted that it is an extraordinary piece, unlike anything he had seen before. Rare Walter Johnson signed baseball stuns its owner with an astonishing six-figure valuation. A guest brought in a Walter Johnson signed baseball received from a friend named Big Dick. Big Dick, a toy and sports salesman, had the ball before passing it to the guest.
From my friend Big Dick, who had it. He was a toy salesman and a sports salesman.
The guest admitted knowing little about Walter Johnson, but was drawn to the ball's age. The appraiser explained that Walter Johnson, known as the Big Train, was a legendary pitcher.
He was known as the Big Train because he had this blazing fastball.
Johnson played for the Washington Senators from 1907 to 1927, achieving 471 wins and 10 20-win seasons.
Well, Walter went on to pitch for the Senators for 21 years, starting in 1907 and retiring after the 1927 season.
In 1939, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame alongside Babe Ruth. Walter Johnson's signed balls are rare, as he wasn't as widely known as Ruth and died young in 1946. The appraiser valued most Walter Johnson balls between $5,000 and $15,000. However, this particular ball was described as spectacular and graded at a 9 out of 10. The auction estimate for the ball was set between $60,000 and $80,000.
I would put an auction estimate of $60,000 to $80,000.
Oh my God.
The appraiser believed it could actually sell for at least $100,000. The guest was shocked and told to insure the ball for $150,000, calling the experience overwhelming. A hidden treasure from the 1930s reveals its rich history. In the 1930s, the guest's parents attended an estate sale in New Haven, Connecticut. They purchased a piece of glass for a small amount, as they were short on money.
In New Haven, Connecticut, and they bought it. And I know that they didn't pay much money for it because they didn't have any money.
It was made at Tiffany around 1914 under Louis Comfort Tiffany, the founder's son. The glass is known as aquamarine glass, produced for a brief period. Initially, it featured aquatic life, but later versions included floral designs. The piece is signed on the bottom, indicating it was made by Tiffany. However, not every signed piece is necessarily Tiffany. Aquamarine glass was unique to Tiffany, as the production technique was difficult to replicate. The estimated value of this piece is between $30,000 and $40,000.
Your piece of glass is worth between $30,000 and $40,000. Pretty good.
Pin was brought by a guest who had purchased it at a church antiques fair. The item held significant historical value because of its connection to Lord Nelson. He was a British naval hero who died at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805. The appraiser pointed out that the pin featured the name Nelson in black enamel. It was made using champ-levé enamel, a technique commonly seen in mourning rings from the early 19th century. This pointed to the likelihood that the pin was a personal relic of Nelson. The owner confirmed that the seller had mentioned a connection to Nelson, but did not provide much detail. Although the pin had no intrinsic material value, its historical context made it far more valuable. The appraiser noted that Nelson and Napoleon memorabilia were highly sought after by collectors. He added that if the pin went to auction, it could generate a lot of interest. Originally bought for £8, the estimated value of the piece was...
I'm going to venture £4,000 to £5,000 on it.
Oh, my goodness.
A dusty Apache basket, treasured by generations, holds a surprising value that connects family and history. The guest shares that the dusty Apache Oya basket belonged to her grandmother, who enjoyed playing with it as a child in the early 1900s. It was passed down from her great-grandmother, who received it as a gift. The appraiser confirms that the basket dates back to around 1890 and was originally used for grain storage.
This basket speaks of the turn of the century, so it was probably created about 1890 to 1900. It's called an Apache Oya.
He notes its remarkable condition and beautiful design, pointing out the intricate patterns and a dog figure on the basket. The guest has never had it appraised before and always viewed it as a practical yet beautiful item. While estimating its auction value, the appraiser said,
Well, if this was to come to auction on a sophisticated marketplace, it would sell for about $15,000 to $18,000.
Wow. That's really something.
It's really gorgeous.
The guest is surprised and delighted by this valuation. Both share a laugh over the basket's history and significance. At an estate sale, a visitor stumbled upon a collection of 1960s fabrics that captured her heart. At an estate sale, a visitor found fabrics that epitomized 1960s style. She loved old fabrics and bought them for a total of $8.
I really love old fabrics, so I just bought them.
Uncertain if she had all 12 pieces, she confirmed it was $8 for the set.
How much did you pay for them?
$8, and there's still a few more. I'm not sure if I have all 12 or not.
The appraiser admired the fashion images and noted Bill Atkinson. However, her colleagues at the textiles table were unfamiliar with him. Consulting the internet, the appraiser found that Atkinson was an amazing designer. An article from Sports Illustrated in May 1956 described him as an architect. He helped make casual and sportswear more acceptable as everyday wear. The appraiser pointed out Atkinson's architectural influence in the straight lines. When asked about the fabric's purpose, the visitor guessed they were for a clothing line. The appraiser agreed, but suggested they were likely used in stores to showcase merchandise. She noted these were called watercolor studies, though they were printed, not true watercolors. The appraiser concluded that the pieces were extremely rare. The total value at auction between $2,400 and $3,200.
Making all 8 of them at auction estimated $2,400 to $3,200 for the group of 8 that we see here, not including the ones you have at home.
This rocking chair is a piece of lawn furniture made in 1925 by owner's grandfather. Chair has a unique hoop that starts here, goes all the way around, and then ends here. His grandfather was left-handed and was able to work with both hands. He made andirons, fences, furniture, and all kinds of things. This is one of the first metal chairs in tubular form, made of aluminium. Such chairs were common in Europe, but in America, production began in 1924. Owner's grandfather was an early producer of metal furniture.
You told me you rolled it across the lawn.
Right, you can roll it across the lawn to get it where you need to go.
It's a sign of modism, and the verdigris at the top is amazing. Most of it is aluminium, but the seat is made of brass. This unique piece has an insurance value of
Easily be $7,500, $7,500.
Wow. That's crazy.
The guest presents a family heirloom, a clock inherited from her husband's grandmother. She describes its intricate design, featuring ships, an American eagle, and other details, while admitting she assumed it was a decorative, commemorative piece. Unsure of its value, she reveals she's a big fan of the Antiques Roadshow and wasn't certain if she should touch or alter it. The appraiser quickly identifies it as a lyre or banjo clock, dating back to around 1825 and crafted by John Sewin, a renowned Boston clockmaker. The guest is surprised by its age and impressed by the appraiser's explanation of the lyre shape and the gilded mahogany finish. The naval battle depicted on the clock's glass panel is from the War of 1812, featuring the American ship Constitution and the British ship Guerriere.
This is carved mahogany that's been gilded, so it's got this nice old surface that we on Antiques Roadshow appreciate.
However, the appraiser points out that both glass panels have been repainted, which reduces the clock's value. Another issue is the missing bracket beneath the clock, which affects its overall condition. Despite these imperfections, the appraiser advises leaving the clock as is, explaining that it's still valuable due to its rarity. The guest is shocked when the appraiser reveals its estimated value to be around $1,200 in a retail store. Had it been in perfect condition, the appraiser notes it could have fetched as much as $20,000. The guest is amazed, and the appraiser emphasizes again, leave it alone. Guest brought this Cordley porcelain set from an antique dealer in Saginaw, Michigan for $100 as a birthday gift for her mother in 1951. By turning the coffee pot over, we can see the Salopian wear mark. It was made in Macaulay, England in 1780. The appraiser, who lived near the factory, said that the factory was pronounced as Caffley.
I've been doing Antiques Roadshow now for 14 years, since the very first season. And this is the first piece of coffee I've seen.
But some people mispronounce it as Corley. This toy service was designed for children, especially for girls, to learn etiquette. It's hand-painted in the Chinese style, and this set has 3 trios, one saucer with a teacup and a coffee cup. Due to its rarity, tiny little cracks do not affect its value. The guest had it appraised in 1970 for $700. Caffley is romanticized among collectors, and the insurance value of the set is up to...
Would be valued up to $3,000. Wow, thank you. A large part of the value of that is in the coffee pot, which is perhaps the sweetest little piece of Caffley porcelain any collector could wish to have.
Anna shares a heartwarming story about her grandparents, their first baby Susan, and their summer cottage on Lake Erie in Huron, Ohio, near Norwalk. Signature belongs to Charles Curran, a well-known American impressionist painter and a relative of the owner. Appraiser identifies the date of the painting as 1894. Charles Curran grew up in Ohio, studied in Cincinnati and New York, and then studied in Paris. His artistic style was known for idealized landscapes and portraits of women with dramatic clouds in the background.
They would sort of be bathed in sunlight, standing on a cliff or on a hill, and often it was an idealized rendition of Cragsmoor.
Unique gold framing of the painting makes it look larger from a distance. Guest expects value to be in the range of $6,000 to $10,000. The subject matter, a woman in a white dress, contributes to the painting's value.
If you sold this at a retail gallery today, it might bring around $75,000.
Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Exhibited on the show today is a sketchbook that once belonged to...
It was sort of a working vacation that he made with his wife and 2 daughters. And it's just a record of his trip up the Oregon coast.
Warren E. Rollins. Rollins was an American artist known as the Dean of the Santa Fe Art Colony. He lived in San Francisco and was the president of a prominent San Francisco institution at the time. The guest who brought this sketchbook to the show is the artist's great-grandson. This particular piece contains family photographs taken in and around Oakland, California.
These are family photographs taken in and around Oakland, California. He lived primarily in Oakland and commuted from Oakland into his studio in San Francisco. He was also the president of the San Francisco Art Institute for a time.
One of the sketches in the book is dated July 7, 1894, and depicts Clatsop Beach, Oregon. Another sketch, also of Clatsop Beach, is dated July 8, 1894, and similarly signed by the artist. Additionally, there is a third sketch of Clatsop Beach, signed and dated July 21, 1894. It's rare to find an old sketchbook like this in such excellent condition, making it a true collector's item.
Clatsop, located
Warren signature and dated July 21st, 1894. It's so rare to get a sketchbook like this that hasn't been broken up.
As a signed sketchbook by Warren Rollins, this piece is highly sought after, and in this condition, it holds significant value.
Taken in the aggregate, all 30 at auction, we believe, would have a value of $6,000 to $8,000.
My goodness.
A former Navy pilot stumbles upon a mysterious Disney artwork with a connection to the war effort. The guest explains how they found the piece.
I was walking up a street in Manhattan. As I passed a shop, an antique shop, this was in the window.
Cool.
Intrigued, they purchased it in 1980 after learning it was part of a rare Disney collection. The guest mentions trying to figure out its history ever since, lacking any documentation. The appraiser identifies the painting as a watercolor gouache, a medium Disney often used. They explain how Disney supported the war effort through various projects, including military insignias. The appraiser reveals that the animated character in the painting is Pedro from Saludos Amigos. Pedro, a mail-carrying airplane, ties into the aircraft carrier theme depicted in the artwork. The appraiser clarifies that the signature was likely added by one of Disney's studio artists. Despite not being Walt Disney's own work, the piece retains significant value. Surprise, the appraiser estimates the piece auction value really high.
The market for things Disney is still very strong. It's an amazing brand. We're looking at auction conservatively $5,000 to $7,000.
Okay.
A yard sale find turns into a stunning $2,000 treasure with hidden elegance and history. A guest brought in a pendant watch she received from helping a woman at a yard sale.
Obtained this from a woman. I helped her do a yard sale. She wanted to pay me half of the money, which was like $20 from the yard sale.
The woman claimed it was just costume jewelry, giving it instead of a $20 payment. The appraiser identified it as a turn-of-the-century watch enamel pendant. It's silver on gold with high-relief enamel and a beautiful porcelain dial. The appraiser noted that it has French hallmarks and is an unusual piece. The appraiser valued the watch at around $2,000 at auction. The watch can be worn as a pendant and is in excellent condition. The guest was surprised to learn the watch opens up, something she didn't know. The guest was thrilled by the unexpected high value. This remarkable piece, originally an engagement ring, belonged to the great-aunt of the current owner. The great-aunt, Renee Thornton, was a Metropolitan Opera soprano from the 1920s. Crafted around the turn of the 20th century, the pendant features exquisite craftsmanship. It is topped in platinum and backed with 14-karat yellow gold, reflecting the period's high-quality materials. The centerpiece is a diamond, weighing about 1.17 carats. It is surrounded by approximately 4.5 carats of old European-cut diamonds.
Diamonds around, so you have a great group of diamonds. These are all mostly old European cuts. That center diamond is a carat, about a carat 17, and this is by calculation, so I'm measuring and figuring out what I think it is.
Okay.
Its original engagement ring setting was transformed into a pendant by the owner's mother. Despite some modifications to the ball and pin stem, which removed some markings, the piece retains its elegance. The royal symbolism, heart motif, and connection to nobility further enhance its charm. With this history and quality, the pendant is valued at approximately $20,000.
I think a piece like this, retail, would be $20,000.
Are you kidding me? That's cute.
The guest presented a collection of items related to her great-grandmother, the renowned 19th century author of classics such as Little Lord Fauntleroy, The Secret Garden, and A Little Princess, Frances Hodgson Burnett. Among the pieces was the first handwritten chapter of Little Lord Fauntleroy, published in 1886, accompanied by a first edition of the book that bore Burnett's signature. The appraiser highlighted the significance of these manuscripts, especially as the first draft of her initial published work, emphasizing Little Lord Fauntleroy as a pivotal piece of 19th century literature that sold over 500,000 copies. The appraiser also noted the personal connection, as the character of Lord Fauntleroy was inspired by the guest's grandfather, who wore the fashionable velvet outfits associated with the character. Another important item in the collection was a certificate related to a landmark copyright lawsuit Burnett initiated after a theatrical adaptation of her work was published without her consent. This case established significant precedents in copyright law, making the collection not just a literary archive but also a crucial historical document regarding authors' rights.
And she leased a home for 9 seasons, and that's where the actual secret garden is today still.
This is the guest book for
and that's the
the
guest
book for
book.
the secret garden.
Additionally, the guest shared about a bracelet and ring inscribed by fellow authors, adding to the personal and historical value of the collection. The appraiser remarked on a guest book from Burnett's residence in Kent, where the real-life secret garden is located, noting signatures from prominent figures such as Henry James and Richard Le Gallienne, as well as major publishers like Scribner's and Heinemann. In terms of valuation, the appraiser estimated that while individual items might hold lower values, about $1,000 for the book and $3,000 to $5,000 for the jewelry, the entire collection together could command approximately $75,000 at auction. The guest brought 2 porcelain vases for appraisal that he purchased in Toronto, Canada 10 years ago. His wife found the vases while antiquing, and he fell in love with the unique designs, reminiscent of spring. Initially, they were told the vases were German. However, the guest suspected they might be Japanese due to the lack of clear markings.
For someone to think that they're German is actually a very logical thing to think. This type of design with the little bitty tiny white flowers completely covering the surface of the vase is called Schneeball, which actually means snowball.
This style was popularized in the 18th century and later revived in the 19th. Applied flowers, branches, birds, and fruit were some of the features of these vases. These vases were only for decoration and not functional.
Someone might say, what are these for? What do they do? And my answer is they don't do anything. They just sit there and look beautiful. The lids do come off, and I guess suppose they could be used for flowers, but at that point I think that might be overkill.
They dated back to the 1860s or 1870s, and the appraiser believed them to be French-made, most likely in or around Paris. The vases bore unclear blue marks, making attribution difficult. Reflecting their rarity, condition, and the artistry of their creator, these vases were appraised at.
The retail value of this pair of vases would be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000. Wow. Fabulous. Woo.
These 2 bronze sculptures by Beniamo Buffano were acquired in the 1960s by the current owner's in-laws. They showcase Buffano's distinct artistic style. Buffano was an Italian immigrant who became famous for his large-scale public sculptures. Many of his works are found throughout the San Francisco Bay Area. He worked in various media, including drawing, painting, terracotta, and mosaics. His bronze animal sculptures are among his most celebrated pieces. The 2 bronzes brought for appraisal date from the latter part of Buffano's career. Both sculptures are signed and numbered at their base. At auction, they are expected to fetch a combined value of around $10,000.
I would expect these at auction to bring about $10,000.
Okay.
The hedgehog is valued slightly higher at $5,500, while the bird is worth around $4,500. The family cherishes these pieces for both their sentimental and financial value. Seemingly ordinary yard find turns out to be an unexpected treasure for one curious guest. The guest explains where he got the painting from: Chicago.
When I was a little kid, my parents got it at a yard sale in Chicago. They were looking for a salt shaker for their brand new house, but they saw this there for $5 and they just had to get it.
The appraiser asks if the guest knows when the painting was purchased. The guest estimates it was around 1998 or 1999. The appraiser identifies the artist as Gertrude Abercrombie and says the painting is from 1945. The appraiser describes Abercrombie as a surrealist and bohemian artist who worked in Chicago. The appraiser adds that Abercrombie was connected to jazz musicians, including Dizzy Gillespie, who played at her second wedding. The guest expresses surprise at this information. The appraiser points out details in the painting, including an owl, a moon, and a cup on the table. The appraiser suggests that the elements reflect Abercrombie's struggles and her vision of herself as an outsider. The guest is intrigued by this interpretation. The appraiser values the small painting, much to the guest's amazement.
Auction, even though it's only 4 by 5 inches, we would give it an estimate of $8,000 to $12,000.
Wow. That's a lot.
A rare naval bayonet from the Kaiser's Navy with a history too rich to bury. The guest brought a bayonet his father-in-law acquired during World War II.
Over the years, he eventually divulged where he got them, how he acquired them. He picked them up off of some German soldiers that were disposed of.
His father-in-law fought in D-Day, Normandy, and took the bayonet from German soldiers. The appraiser identified it as an S-98 bayonet from 1898 to 1905, primarily used in World War I. The engraving indicates it was used by the Kaiser's Navy, a rare and exciting collectible. The bayonet was never officially issued, likely a private purchase. Its excellent condition and unique history make it valuable. While examining, the appraiser estimated its worth.
On the market today, this would have a retail sales value of $1,200 to $1,500. Very good. That's a pleasure to hear. Yes. Wow. I told myself if I were on this show, I was not going to say wow like everybody else does.
The guest was pleased with the news. This stunning ring was passed down to the current owner from a family friend. It was designed by the renowned jeweler David Webb. The center of the ring features exquisite rubies, surrounded by bright white diamonds. The diamonds are set in platinum, while the ring itself is crafted from 18-karat gold.
For starters, you are right. There are rubies in the center of the ring. They are surrounded by lovely, lovely diamonds, bright white stones. Then we see the gold, which has this amazing haystack sort of appeal to it,
giving it an elegant yet bold appearance. Initially, the ring's estimated auction value, based on its components alone, would range from $3,000 to $5,000. However, the value rises significantly when considering the David Webb name, boosting the estimate to $5,000 to $7,000. Upon further inspection, experts suspect the rubies may be Burmese, which would require certification. If confirmed as Burmese and unheated, the ring's value could soar to an impressive $8,000 to $12,000.
This type of an item at auction would have an estimate of $8,000 to $12,000.
Really?
Yes.
This beautifully preserved piece not only holds financial value, but also represents timeless craftsmanship from the late 1950s to early 1960s. The condition and prestige of the designer make it a truly remarkable treasure. The appraiser examined a picture of Lookout Mountain, which belonged to the guest's husband's grandmother's family. Confirming its authenticity, the appraiser noted it was an original large folio Currier and Ives print, recognized as one of the better regional representations. The appraiser emphasized its value as a stunning landscape, particularly because it featured a train, which enhances desirability among collectors. The color quality was described as excellent, contributing positively to its overall worth. The appraisal indicated that, in its current condition, the print was valued between $5,000 and $5,500.
In this kind of condition, it's worth about $5,000 to $5,500.
Okay.
However, the appraiser recommended restoration to address some spots, estimating a cost of $400 to $500 for the work.
Those spots can be cleaned up. Well worth doing. Okay, it would probably cost you maybe $400 or $500 to fix it up, but well worth it.
With proper restoration, the print's value could increase to approximately $6,000 to $6,500.
So then it would be worth about $6,000 to $6,500.
Okay.
That would also help preserve it.
Okay, great.
While also helping to preserve it for the future. Overall, it was recognized as a significant and valuable piece of art. The guest received an Elaine de Kooning painting as a gift from his dearest friend, his high school English teacher, whom he had known for 50 years.
Before during your visit?
Actually, when I first entered her home about 35, 40 years ago, I saw it hanging on the wall with a lot. She had a lot of other paintings, and this one just stuck out. And every time I go to her house, I would stare at it and just say, that is just...
Elaine Marie Catherine de Kooning was an abstract expressionist and figurative expressionist painter in the post-World War II era. She was the wife of Willem de Kooning, also a Dutch-American abstract expressionist artist, and created this piece around 1959 or 1960. De Kooning was a visiting professor in Albuquerque and befriended the guest's teacher. The painting was a very energetic mixed media work on paper, with elements very much like gouache, acrylic paint, and featured a bull at the center.
Louise said she enjoyed going to the bullfights in Juarez and would go there quite frequently and became fascinated or enchanted with the whole bullfight.
Elaine de Kooning was part of the abstract expressionist movement, but maintained figuration in her work.
And she didn't take any nonsense. And she put up with a lot of nonsense from William de Kooning, but she had her own flings as well.
Oh.
So she was quite an independent lady. She was feisty.
She blended abstract expressionism with figuration, which was evident in her bull paintings, and portraits, including that of John F. Kennedy. The painting's significance was heightened by Elaine de Kooning's growing recognition as an artist, and it got appraised at.
So would it surprise you if I said more likely at auction 50,000 to 80,000?
Yeah.
Well, I'm delighted to hear it. It's nice people still get surprised.
And insurance value would be about
Insurance,
the same?
you're going to be north of 100,000. So I don't think you should insure it for less than 140, 150,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might want to have a word with your
My
insurance.
premiums are going up.
Modernist artist Claire Falkenstein created a unique jewelry set. It was received by the current owner's in-laws in trade for photography work done for the artist. Falkenstein, renowned for her sculptures and gates, wasn't primarily known for jewelry. These pieces, crafted from brass wire and featuring minimalist designs, embody the essence of modernist art. One piece resembles a gentleman figure, while the other is a scarf pin incorporating a small glass bead. Despite the absence of gemstones or precious metals, Falkenstein's reputation elevates the value of the set. Appraisers estimate the two pieces to be worth between $3,000 and $5,000.
And he gave me a fairly nice auction value. He said between $3,000 and $5,000 for the two pieces.
Oh my goodness.
The jewelry, though primitive in its construction, highlights the artist's creativity and distinct style. The combination of her background in modernism and the rare nature of her jewelry work make this set a fascinating piece of art history. Though simple in materials, the artistry behind the design offers significant value, both in terms of art and legacy. In about 1946 or 1947, a guest shared a fascinating story about their father, an engineer at a paper mill, who encountered a trainload of scrap paper from Washington. Among the materials, he discovered several ships' logs from warships, including a significant set from December 1941, which contained the log for December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor Day.
He was supposed to destroy them, but he skimmed the lot.
Well, I'm glad he didn't. What you brought to us today was both deck logs for the USS Trevor.
Although he was meant to destroy these documents, he decided to save them. They noted that the logs belonged to the USS Trevor, a destroyer minesweeper positioned along other destroyers. The log contained a real-time account of the events, including entries about going to battle stations and engaging Japanese aircraft with .50 caliber machine guns.
And it was nestled in amongst some destroyers right during the air raid. So you couldn't really have a more amazing real-time description of what was happening written in the hand of someone who was there at the epicenter of the Second World War.
The appraiser emphasized that these logs represent an extraordinary first-hand perspective from one of the pivotal moments of World War II. Given their historical importance, they estimated the set could fetch between $2,000 and $3,000 at auction. An authentic Jean Harlow autograph tied to Hollywood's original blonde bombshell could unlock hidden value with a mystery inscription. The guest received a Jean Harlow signed photograph from a late friend and his widow. The friend was a movie star autograph collector, and the guest had long admired this piece. The appraiser pointed out the signature on the lower left, reading, "To my darling Ruthie, don't forget me."
To my darling Ruthie, don't forget me, so much love. One of the things that is pretty widely known is that her mother signed most of the photographs that we see out there in the market.
Jean Harlow's mother, Mama Jean, often signed for her, but this signature appears to be genuine. Jean Harlow, born in 1911, tragically died of kidney failure in 1937.
Good to me. She was born in 1911 and she died so tragically young in 1937.
The guest believes she died due to bleaching her hair, but it was actually linked to childhood scarlet fever.
So she actually did die of kidney failure. The issue is, it wasn't peroxide that killed her. She actually, as a child, suffered from scarlet fever.
The appraiser estimated the photo's value at around $3,000 at auction. If Ruthie could be identified, the value could rise to $5,000 to $7,000. Jean Harlow was a major Hollywood star, often seen as the original blonde bombshell. Her autographs are rare, increasing the significance and value of this photo. A glass vase was bought by a guest in an Orrefors Swedish to be appraised. He shared that they purchased it at a thrift shop auction for $100, attracted by its unique design featuring chameleons and vibrant colors. The vase, signed by renowned artist Edvin Öström, also includes a date code, 143E, which signifies its production period between 1939 and 1950. This particular vase is part of the Ariel collection, a distinct line developed by Öström, Vikke Lindstrand, and master glassblower Gustav Bergqvist. The Ariel technique involves trapping air between layers of molten glass, creating bubbles and intricate designs. The vase is also notable for its aventurine, tiny green sparkles embedded in the glass, adding to its rarity. The appraiser highlighted the vase's original shape, noting its unusual foot design and flawless condition. Weighing an impressive 15 pounds, it stands out as one of the heaviest vases appraised. With its rich history and craftsmanship, the guest's $100 investment proved to be a great find.
Your $100 investment, you did really well. You want to know how well?
How well?
I think in a retail shop, that this could sell for $35,000 to $45,000.
The appraiser concluded by revealing the vase's significant value, estimated at $35,000 to $45,000. A Winold Reese painting, bold and bright, with a history and heart, a cherished sight. The guest brought a painting and letter gifted to their grandparents by Winold Reese in 1934. The painting was given as a wedding present and depicts a woman named Agnes, also known as Morning Star. The appraiser explains that Reese, originally from Germany, came to the US in 1913 and focused on painting indigenous peoples. Reese created the portrait using mixed media, including pastel and gouache. The appraiser highlights the empathy and respect Reese had for his subjects. The painting also has strong provenance due to the accompanying letter. While examining the item, the appraiser said,
At auction, I feel pretty comfortable in giving it an estimate of $50,000 to $80,000.
Oh my gosh. Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. That's exciting.
The appraiser recommends insuring it.
I don't think you should insure it for anything less than $100,000.
Wow.
So
Really?
I would get that on your insurance policy.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
An elusive masterpiece by Arthur Kern, one of the few surviving works from a lost era, resurfaces with a striking auction value. The guest brought in a painting passed down from their father, who was an art professor at the University of...
Came from my father. We've had the painting as long as I can remember. My dad was an art professor at the University of Southwest Louisiana.
The artist of the painting is Arthur Kern, a New Orleans artist with a unique style. Kern studied in New Orleans before moving to
the artist.
As I think you've discovered, the artist is Arthur Kern,
Pennsylvania in the 1950s to work as a flooring designer. During his free time, Kern experimented with epoxy and polyester resin, creating textured, dimensional pieces. The painting is titled Torso, featuring Kern's early use of thick impasto, possibly utilizing resin. Kern gained recognition in the early 60s with solo shows at the Ruth White Gallery near Central Park.
he became quite successful. He had solo shows at Ruth White Gallery in New York, which was right near Central Park. And he also was exhibited at the Museum of Modern Art in a group show in 1962.
He was also exhibited in a group show at the Museum of Modern Art in 1962. This painting survived, as indicated by the exhibition label from the Ruth White Gallery on its verso. Kern resurfaced in 2016 with a major exhibition at the Ogden Museum of Southern Art. The appraiser estimated the value of the painting between $8,000 and $12,000 at auction.
So it's a little bit hard to pinpoint the value on this because he destroyed so many of the paintings from this period.
The guest mentioned two other known paintings from the same period that are still in existence. New York City's Central Park, an expert Eric Silver shared insights into the bronze statue of Balto. It was a historic dog with a remarkable history. In 1925, Balto led the final leg of a 600-mile journey to deliver life-saving serum to Nome, Alaska, amidst a deadly epidemic. Battling extreme conditions of 30 below zero and whiteout snowstorms, Balto became a symbol of endurance and bravery. To honor his courage, New Yorkers commissioned sculptor Frederick Roth to create a statue of Balto, unveiled the same year. The statue's patina, originally a dark brown, has worn away due to children frequently climbing on it, revealing the raw bronze underneath. Roth's mastery in capturing animal vitality is evident in the sculpture, where Balto appears energetic and lifelike. Roth, known for his dynamic animal sculptures, also created other notable pieces in Central Park, including a towering honey bear and dancing goats. His smaller works often fetch between $5,000 to $7,000 in galleries.
And they can bring in the $5,000 to $7,000 range in a gallery situation.
The Balto statue remains a beloved spot in the park, especially for dog lovers and children, standing as both an artistic and historical treasure. Praiser welcomed Dawn, expressing gratitude for her visit. The guest chuckled as she shared remarkable history. The briefcase belonged to John F. Kennedy. Her uncle, who owned a cobbler shop on Beacon Hill, often polished JFK's shoes while he was renting an apartment above. One day, JFK accidentally left the briefcase behind. Without the means to contact him, her uncle held onto it. When JFK returned for his next shoe shine, he told her uncle to keep the briefcase, as he had already replaced it. The briefcase was later gifted to her father, but during a school show and tell, the papers went missing.
Inside, we have the compartment where his lunch was.
Yes.
And his papers. You got that nice little deli smell, so
He explained that in the appraisal world, two critical terms always arise: provenance and comparable. The provenance of the briefcase was strong. It had been in the family for decades with clear ownership history, and JFK's initials were visible on it. The appraiser felt confident in asserting that this was indeed JFK's briefcase.
When it comes to value and on items that he owned, it's not a unique item because there have been several records of JFK briefcases coming to market.
Discussing comparable, he acknowledged the challenges of determining value as the market for presidential memorabilia can fluctuate significantly. Items owned by presidents are highly sought after, and JFK's memorabilia is among the most valuable.
So all of this being said, I have to now come up with some sort of value to base it on. Obviously, this was before he was president.
After careful consideration, the appraiser estimated the value of the briefcase to be between $20,000 and $30,000.
If there was a presidential briefcase, I think the value would be higher, but all things put into perspective based on other auction records, it would probably put an estimate somewhere between $20,000 and $30,000. Wow. It's a great piece of American history.
The guest expressed her gratitude and excitement, sharing how much she appreciated seeing the briefcase in person. A set of cherished childhood wind-up toys, including a rare Minnie Mouse, holds surprising value decades later. An appraiser reviewed 3 wind-up toys brought in by a guest.
Brought me 3 little wind-up toys.
Yes.
How did you come by them?
All 3 belong to my dad.
The guest shared that her father received the toys in the late 1930s from a gift exchange. The toys featured Charlie McCarthy, Pinocchio, and Minnie Mouse, all well-known characters. Charlie McCarthy was a famous radio character.
Entertainment. You have Charlie McCarthy, who was very big on the radio and also in the funny strips.
While Pinocchio came from a Disney movie. Minnie Mouse, Mickey's girlfriend, was rarer and highly collectible.
These would be around $150 each, which isn't too bad. Now, this one is a little different story.
The appraiser noted that the Charlie McCarthy and Pinocchio toys were made of lithographed tin. Each of these tin wind-ups was valued at about $150 due to their condition. The Minnie Mouse toy was made of fragile celluloid plastic, which is rare to find today. The appraiser revealed that it's worth about $2,700 at auction. He emphasized the rarity of finding this toy in such pristine shape. The guest was surprised by the high value of the Minnie Mouse toy. Captain J.B. Reed was the speaker's great-great-grandfather.
My great-great-grandfather was Captain J.B. Reed, and these items came down through the family from the great state of Maine, which is where I'm from originally.
The family inherited several items from Maine. The ship was the A.G. Jewett from Belfast, Maine. Captain J.B. Reed sailed the ship to Marseille. The ship was built in Addison, Maine. It was a brig designed for commerce. The ship carried its first load to France. A local artist painted the ship in Marseille. Artists like the Roux family and Pellegrin made these paintings. Mr. Jewett, a Maine lawyer, likely owned the ship. He also served as an ambassador to Peru. The ship was lost in 1884 near Cape Hatteras. It was carrying sugar machinery and coal to Cuba. A storm caused the heavy cargo to tip the ship. Both the painting and model will be passed down in the family. The 2 ship paintings are valued at $10,000 to $12,000.
I think at auction they would bring between $10,000 and $12,000 for the 2 of them.
You're kidding.
The guest shared that this charming piece was a gift from a former mother-in-law who brought it back from Italy in the mid-60s. The appraiser identified the sculpture as Pulcino, designed by the renowned glass company Vistosi Alessandro Pianon. The name Pulcino translates to young chicken in Italian, perfectly capturing the whimsical nature of the piece, which indeed resembles an adorable 1960s chicken.
I mean, it really does look like a cute little 1960s chicken. Vistosi was the company that made this, but it was actually designed by a young designer named Alessandro Pianon.
The appraiser explained that the sculpture is made from marine glass, featuring a textured surface created by rolling molten glass over small bits of colored glass. This unique technique gives the piece its distinctive look. Additionally, the statue is supported by slender metal legs, likely made of copper, adding to its playful aesthetic.
The glass, the way that you've got this textured surface is when the glass is molten.
Notably, the appraiser pointed out that this design is part of one of Vistosi's most successful lines, which features bird motifs. In a retail setting, the sculptures could sell for approximately $7,500, a surprising valuation for the guest.
$7,500.
Oh my goodness, that's a real shocker.
Aren't you glad you held on to it?
I am.
The appraiser remarked on the delightful proportions and whimsical style that evoke joy, suggesting the guest made a wise decision by keeping the sculpture after parting with her husband.